Good day, folks.
Welcome to the MB Waterman channel.
On today's video, Elliot and I want to show you a real quick reset. We got this beautiful coyote here last night, and we've got some snares set in a bit of a circle. If you're interested in how we do that, there's a video on the channel called snaring around a bait setup, and you can go ahead and check that out on the channel. It's a good one if you don't, if you wonder how we did this. But so what we had is we had a snare attached to this solid, hanging down right beside where Elliot is here. And last night, sometime in the night, because we checked these traps yesterday.
We checked those yesterday at like 2 or 3.
Yeah, so yesterday afternoon we were here and we didn't have anything. It's now like 1 o'clock in the afternoon the following day, and we got this nice coyote. So we got him last night, and we got him right here. He tangled up just back here in some branches and some small trees, and then he laid right there. You can see that there's a patch of snow kind of melted right there. I just want to show you what I do for a reset real quick when we catch a coyote at a bait set like this. So this isn't one of those sets where you just have a regular game trail going across, and when you catch something, other stuff will avoid it. If anything, catching a coyote here, catching a fox, catching a bobcat, whatever it is, will actually increase the attractiveness of this spot, right? So they smell other animals around and they know that there's been other coyotes in the area. So you don't have to do a whole lot here on the reset, but I'm going to show you what we do. The first thing that we do that's important is whichever side he tangles up on and ends up laying on, right? We want to make sure that we undo him and then we drag it underneath where we're going to put the snare. What that does is it just allows the scent of that coyote to come underneath the spot where we're going to set the new snare. I can only assume, based on the tracks that we saw, that he came in from this open field and he was headed up into the bait site when he hit this snare. He ended up laying on the downside. So what we did, Elliot and I unattached it from the tree, and then we just pulled his body up through, and we're just going to keep going kind of up that way. Not very far, I mean 5, 10 yards, that's it, right? So we're just going to keep dragging him up there after a little minute, okay? But what we're going to do next now is we're going to reset our snare in almost the same position, but not quite, okay? So what we want to do this time, this was wide open, pretty much. We used this little stick right here as a blocker, so that when the coyotes or whatever came up, this was a guide stick, this one here, and they naturally went here. Now we're going to gum it up a little bit more, and we're going to make it obvious, if we can, we're going to make it really obvious the path that we drug the coyote, okay? Yeah. So we want other animals to basically have their nose on the ground because a coyote came right through there. They're not going to be able to, it doesn't matter to them that they just want the smell, right? They're not going to know the difference that it was dead or alive or what. So we're going to jam this up as much as we can. Okay, and we're going to really make this narrow. So grab some sticks if you can, Elliot.
Stick.
Whoops. That one's not very secure.
No.
Can you pull that one out just a little bit? I want to angle this just a bit.
I need to put this one down.
Got it?
Is that okay there?
Great, yeah. So try to fill in that hole a little bit. Not too. Doesn't have to be perfect, just enough so that when they come up through, that there's only one obvious path to go. And the path that they're going to go is where we dug the coyote.
There we go.
Okay? A little bit more right in there probably. And we're going to leave this open right here. Okay? All right, so I'm not using anything fancy here, guys. This is just my standard, what I call my farm snare.
Ah!
Wowzers.
That worked out well.
Hold on, let me just move this to the outside.
Okay.
You're going to have to reset that stick, that big one right there, but I'm going to put this one up against the tree. That way it won't fall.
Now I can do these ones.
Yep, just redo those a little bit. Okay. So this is what I just call, this is just my standard farm snare. If you want to know how to build these, there's a couple of videos on the channel about how to make a quick and easy snare for like 50 cents or whatever it is. And just a regular piece of trapping tie-off wire. Make sure you leave it long enough and you have a big enough snare that the animal can tangle with what's around, okay? So the only trick to the reset that I want to share with you today is that it's important, especially if you've just caught a coyote in the last day or whatever, because that scent is super fresh. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you hang your snare exactly on the trail, exactly on the path where you drug that coyote. And if you typically would set your coyote snares 6 or 8 inches off the ground. On a reset, I set them almost 5 inches lower. I want to set them just so they're 3 or 4 inches off the ground, not the typical 6 or 8, because a coyote coming through here doesn't have his head up, right? So he's on the scent of another coyote. As soon as he gets down there and he smells that there was a coyote laying down there, he's got his nose right on the ground and he's coming up this way, sniffing where just like that, yeah. Sniffing where that coyote went, right? So we're gonna reset our snare, and it is a duck under spot, but we're gonna make sure that our snare is just like about 3, maybe 4 inches off the ground, just like that. You still want the loop. You still want the loop the same size as you typically would for a coyote, for around their neck, because you want a good solid neck catch. But you want the loop lower to the ground, because any coyote coming through here now has got his nose on the ground sniffing, right? And then we'll just drag that coyote up that way, you know, maybe 6 or 8 feet, 10 feet, whatever, just to make sure there's a bit of a trail, right, up into the bait spot. So anyway, listen, hope this is something that you could use on your line. Hope this helps you out. And as always, you should always remake a set. Like your odds of catching a second in the next 2 or 3 nights is super, super good, especially if you've just got a fresh catch, right? So always remake your set. Just because you catch something doesn't mean that, okay, well, that spot's ruined even though they messed it up some. Just fix it back up, hang a new snare, and you're ready to go for the next day. All right, until next time, happy hunting from the MB Wildman channel.